Welcome back everyone. Again, it's been a while since my last video. It's busy season, so you're running a bit and I don't get to do videos as often as I would like to. But I am working on flies for two different trips. One is back to the Vaal River for some smallmouth yellowfish, and I'm pretty well prepared for that. Our previous trip didn't go too well. Fishing wasn't very good. We did get some fish, but it wasn't great. Weather has improved considerably, and we are going next week, Wednesday, for a few days again. I'm actually going with the guys from Frontier Fly Fishing. And I'm at the moment preparing for a trip the week after next week's trip, which is to Sterkfontein Dam, which is a crystal clear, many of you will know it from South Africa, but for the foreign viewers and subscribers, it's a crystal clear fishery with yellowfish cruising below the surface, eating dry flies and emergers and those sort of things just below the surface, on top of the surface and below the surface. We know emergers. I love fishing emergers on that dam. I love fishing small, very, very small, size 20 and 22 little nymphs on long 15-foot leaders. And I've decided to try a few new things. And I'm busy tying a few cripples. And I've decided to make a few videos on cripples. And I think it's a very underrated fly, especially in South Africa. We don't really use them, and I don't think many people know of them. And I've fished them very successfully in the States and in South Africa. And there are many variations, many different ways of tying them, and it's all going to depend on the water that you fish, I think. A lot of them will have like a marabou tail and a marabou body, which looks like the tail and the abdomen of a damselfly, but it's not, because damselflies don't hatch in the water. They crawl like dragonflies, crawl out of the water and hatch on the side. So all the cripples actually imitate mayflies, or in some instances caddisflies, because those are two insects that hatch in the surface form and on the water. Now, the first one I'm going to tie it's quite a big one, and it's more something that would imitate a big mayfly. And in this case, because I'm tying it in olive, I would say it would be like a green drake. In South Africa, we only have 10 species, or 10 mayfly families, of which very few of them, I think in fact only one of them, grow very big, almost like it's not the exogenia, but they're also yellow, and they almost like the exogenia. But the one that I'm tying now is with a marabou tail and a goose biot or a turkey biot abdomen, and it's a very simple fly to tie. And once you understand the dynamics, or the profile of the fly rather, then it would be much easier to change the size, change the hook, change a few things in the fly to imitate various different mayflies. And especially when it comes to size, I mean, it's easy to change the size. I'm tying this on the grip 14503, and the reason for tying it on this hook is because I've seen it tied on 14582, which has got a straight eye. Now, if you look at the wing that's tied on this hook, that's tied on this fly, I prefer to tie it on the 14503 because it's got a down eye. It's easier to get the tipper through it, and you're going to get the fly to sit a little bit better on the surface. So the whole idea with a cripple is to get the abdomen to sit below the surface and the wings to sit on top of the surface. And a cripple imitates a mayfly that is not well developed, that maybe started hatching and got stuck in the shack and can't get out properly, or underdeveloped wings or something like that. It can even imitate a mayfly that's hatching. That's perfectly normal, because there is a period that they sit on the water and they before they fly off, and that's what a cripple imitates. Now, I start with this one I'm going to tie is with a marabou tail, and I don't use normal marabou. I just use the back end of a strung saddle hackle. The abdomen, I'm using goose Biot, and this one that I'm using here, I'm using an olive goose or turkey Biot rather, because they're nice and long, and I'm using a long hook. So you tie the marabou tail in, then you tie the turkey Biot in, and I'm a right hand tire, so I tie the left wing, the turkey Biot from the left wing, and you tie it with a concave side down. Now there is a video that I'll post a link below, and you can see the video on a little bit more info on tying with turkey Biots and preparing them for tying. So you tie that in, and the reason for doing it this way is because I want that little rib to show. And you'll see now when I wrap that around the hook, you will see that a little rib shows very nicely. And if I was tying a dry fly, I tie it the other way around. And I don't want the rib to show. But because this is still the nymph side of the fly, I like a more prominent rib on the abdomen. It's a personal preference. And you wrap that around all the way to there, to the front. You see these long turkey Biots. This is from hairline. They form very nice little abdomens. Secure that with a few wraps and cut the excess and tie that in. Now you've got a very nice abdomen and a tail, which is, from here onwards you can go and tie a nymph. But we want this fly to sit in the surface form. We want the wings to be out of the surface, and we want the abdomen to be in the surface, and that's why we're using marabou, something that will soak up water, that will attract the fish a little bit. There's a little bit of movement in it, and this fly you don't retrieve. It's one of those flies that you cast out and you let it sit there. Preferably sight fishing, or when you fish a river, you can get it in a stream and it will drift down, but you do not retrieve this fly. And from here on you need to do the thorax. So I'm using a light olive, or golden olive rather, trilobal dubbing, a very fine dubbing. You can use a super fine, you can use a antron dubbing. There are various dubbings that you can use, but I'm using a grip trilobal dubbing, light olive, and just roll it onto the, no special technique to this, just roll it onto the thread and build that thorax. Now you're not going to go too far forward. That little thorax is going to sit right here, because that's where the fly crawled out. And you leave that space in front of the wing, or in front of the thorax. You leave that open, because that's where we're going to tie the legs and the wing. And for the wing, I'm using deer hair, which is, I quite like to use the mottled deer hair. Just make sure you buy the right deer hair, because sometimes the tips can be very hard and they don't open up the way you want them to. So just make sure you buy the right deer hair. You may have to go through a few packets to select the right one. Cut a little bunch off, brush that under fur out. Put that in a stacker. I've got a nice little stacker that Jay from jvice made for me, with a tapered tube, so it gets the fine hair very close to each other very nicely. Stack that, and you can see it's a nice tapered opening there, and pull that out. Not a big bunch of deer hair. You don't need a lot of deer hair here. Now you take the thread forward just behind the eye. Just leave a small space, because you're going to be tying the fly off right behind the eye on the hook, not over the deer hair. So, and then you tie the wing in. The wing you just tie in straight forward. It's just to the front, tie it in right there. Make one wrap, pull it a little bit, just make sure it doesn't spin around the hook, and you tie that in all the way to the back against the dubbing thorax, and create a nice a smooth surface, because you're going to be wrapping a hackle around that. So pull that back a little bit. And we cut that about the same length as the dubbing right there. And to finish the fly off, we're going to take a hackle. I'm using a olive dyed whiting hackle. Now you'll see the colors that I'm using is perfect for a green drake. I'll be fishing, if all goes well and I can travel, I'll be fishing the Georgia area, north of Atlanta, next year with my fishing buddy Bob. He's got a guiding service there, reelanglingadventures, and we go into those small streams sometimes and we fish for very small trout. We do drifts in Tennessee, North Carolina, so some beautiful waters there, and I'll be taking these flies with me to fish that. And you wrap that hackle forward around that smooth area that you created all the way to the wing, and you tie that off right there. And I'll be tying a bunch of these, and I'm going to tie quite a variety. I'll make videos on the others that I'm going to tie more specifically for Sterkfontein, for the yellowfish, and that I'll be trying out in about 2 weeks time. And cut that excess, that hackle off there, pull the wing up, make 1 or 2 wraps underneath that wing, and finish the fly off right there. Cut the thread and make sure always some hair that's not cooperating, trim that away, and that's it. That's the cripple. And there are so many different ones. This is, to me, is a standard cripple that I tie on a longer shank hook. If I want to tie, this is a size 12, which is quite big. We don't really have big mayflies like this in South Africa. Maybe in the Rhodes area, I've seen on the box braid, I've seen some very big, almost like the exogenias, but they're really big. They're even bigger than this. But you can tie this all the way down to size 20 if you want to. I'll be tying for Sterkfontein. I'll be tying them about size 14s, 16s, and 18s, and I will make videos. I will post videos on that. But please go and try this. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video, and please comment if you have other ideas for cripples. Thanks for watching.